Welcome everybody back to another BOLDcast reaction. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
This is HOTD, Season 2, Episode 5. Entering the second half of the season. Aegon is burnt to a crisp.
Yep.
Aemond is now, what would he be? King to be. He's the crown prince, heir to the throne. Crispin is looking pretty messed up, and I was watching a HOTD X stream, and he pointed, or a video with him and Glidus, and he pointed out something interesting that, like, we forget with how young Alicent and Kristen look, that, like, he's like a father figure to Aegon and Aemond. Like, he trained them from what, like, he's been around since before they were born, you know, like, it's easy to forget because they look so young still, and it's like with Alicent, it's part of, like, the whole, you know, women are, you know, the whole thing with that, where she just is younger than, like, a grandmother would be. But with Kristen, it's a big meme that he looks like the same as he did on day one. But, like, yeah, he is, you know, he's looking down at Aegon. He was there when he was born. He, like, watched him while he was a baby, watched him, like, hung out with him all the time throughout his whole life, and you know, guarded him through thick and thin, like, through all of his teenage years and everything. And now he's, like, in his 20s, and Kristen shows up and he's just looking at him burnt to a fucking crisp in a pit there. So I think that there's more there, and, you know, it's like the third time that he has failed as a guard. The first time it was Aemond losing his eye, and he wasn't there. He was off, you know, God knows where. He just wasn't on his post. And then when Jaehaerys was killed, he was banging Alicent, and now he was unable to because of his like scheming with Aemond, and that he was hiding from Aegon. He was unable to protect him as well. And, you know, I imagine he has some kind of emotional attachment to Aegon. Yeah. You know, as he would. You know, he's been with this family for a lifetime. So, yeah, very sad stuff. We'll see how this affects things going forward. Leave a like and subscribe. And Maelys and Rhaenys are dead, unfortunately. Yeah. Leave a like and subscribe. Let's go. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not a thing.
Great. Okay. Starting at 0, we got a special version of the show this time. So there's not going to be that whole preamble for uncut people that we normally do, because we're just watching just the show. So it's starting with the HBO thing. So go to that wherever your version is, whether you're watching on a different site or whatever. I don't know. I still don't know how it goes on different places in the world, but yeah. Outfit change. Bam. Okay, let's see if there's any changes. Tapestry Watt.
Yeah, I feel like there might have been some important historical events on the last episode.
That's what Glidus and fucking Alt-Swift-X, excuse me, are calling it. They're like, it's Tapestry Watch 2024. I got spoiled on a character that will be revealed at some point, and I have a theory about that character. I've kind of explained it to Lindsay, but I won't say it, just I'll say it when the time comes, just in case other people have not been spoiled about it. But I'm very excited for this interaction to happen in the story at some point, whether in this season or the next, or maybe not until way later. I don't know. I don't know all the details, but it's very exciting. Is this Driftmark or Dragonstone?
Dragonstone, I think.
No. Dragonstone looks way scarier. I think this is Driftmark, yeah. Driftmark. The man lost his children, and then his wife, and his grandchildren. Some of them. And now he's alone. What are you gonna do now, sir? I think now is gonna be a change where he begins to value the family that he's forsaken up to this point. All the food's like rotting. It's all that's there for the common folk. All the good shit's going to the lords. Things are getting scarce. Some bowl of brown. Flea bottom.
The traitor dragon Maelys!
Wow.
Slain at Brook's Rest!
The scales are still on it.
To Aegon!
To Aegon!
Ew, imagine how bad that smells.
Mark my words, this is a black omen.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, oh my god.
A black omen indeed. Not a green omen. How it's just constantly smoking. Or are they burning incense? They're burning incense on the side
Oh,
to mask the
smell.
stench. That's a cool
They
detail.
realize we won the battle.
Strange victory.
They want their victory to smell sweet.
If it was one.
What is it, Sir Gawain? You're not the stomach for dragon wars? Is that her body?
Or his.
Oh, it's his. But what of Sunfire? Oh. What's this guy's name?
Dragon Maylis!
I thought the dragon
Hugh.
was gods.
What do you think now, lady?
In like a supply cart.
Yeah, keeping it low key.
Like, and what are they gonna say? He just died of something else in the castle?
He's already got the blade. I'm surprised he doesn't already have his fucking crown and didn't pluck it off his corpse. Does everyone know? Everyone just already knows? It's like, oh, what's this mysterious box they're hauling up the fucking stairs? Also, I saw there was the shot of the 7-pointed star hanging above the stairway. That was like during a time skip when Rhaenyra was away. She came back and then Alicent was like hanging all the green banners everywhere. It's good, consistent stuff there. Blackfire.
Is he alive?
His grace remains with us for the moment.
I was spoiled on that, unfortunately. But yeah. I don't know what comes after.
Well, now he's not gonna be taking any actions and that no one wants him to take.
If he lives through the
Jesus.
night,
Ah.
it's fused to his body.
Oh my god.
It would be dragon fire to fuse Valyrian steel as well. That's like the only thing that could do it. Well, they got like cabbage, they're soaking it in oils to like, or some sort of leaf.
Oh my god.
Herb.
Oh my god.
Just leave it. Just leave it on.
Probably have to take it off or else it could get infected.
Oh, the pus is crazy.
Is my son going to die?
I'm afraid I cannot stay. Now, if you'll excuse me, Your Grace, these next hours are most critical.
Of course.
Jesus.
But does he want him to live? Is a question.
Oh. I mean, he definitely would have just died if he didn't have that crazy armor on.
100%, yeah.
Like, just, he would have been
Someone
dust.
will have to rule in his stead.
Lemon with salt to scrape rust off. I didn't know about that. That's
With
interesting.
an acid and then the salt for abrasion.
What happened?
We took the castle at the cost of some 900 men.
Oh, was that all?
So I've heard. The king. Sir Kristen, what befell him?
I wonder if he's gonna lie to her.
His Grace fought valiantly.
And Aemon?
She does not believe him. They're kind of in this
What was
together.
his part in this?
I could not say.
Our largest dragon has been killed.
That's more than he'd say for anyone else. If anyone else asked.
Marches about the crown lands unchallenged.
Should have burnt his ass when we had the chance.
Rook's rest are gone. Capability, or your quickness of mind. It is merely that the gentler sex, heretofore, has not been much privy to the strategies of battle. or their execution.
In our lifetime, you've seen no more battles than I have.
That's a good point. Yeah, were
They
you at
literally
this?
just go and sit down.
And how many men did you kill at the Stepstones? Oh wait, Daemon was there, wasn't he?
Cole pursues his campaign. Our allies must be
We
ready.
must answer Rook's Rest.
He has,
Duskendale.
he
They
has
are lost already,
personal stake.
but Vhagar is depleted after such a hard-fought battle.
If Aegon is dead, we will soon know it.
A time is ripe. If we can strike King's Landing before that dragon is
Do it.
recovered.
Then I myself must do it.
My queen, you are the crown. It is out of the question.
What would you have me do?
It's the best possible move if she's
Yeah.
willing to do it.
Because no one else.
Vhagar's on cooldown. They
Yeah.
got their ult on cooldown. It's time to fucking push. Oh, him.
Oh,
He'll
God.
do it on
He'll
his
go and
tiny
die.
dragon. On his tiny baby dragon Vermax.
Where are you going?
Or Bela too.
Both of them.
To Harrenhal,
Right.
treat with the Daemon. He must affirm his loyalty to my mother and report his stand.
Oh no, King's Landing's between us and Harrenhal. What am I gonna do?
You are the succession.
Then I must be seen to act for her claim and mine. I can sit still no longer.
It's your
I
brother.
must act.
They're about to do the same shit that the Greens just did.
Yeah.
The same thing.
The phrase. They control the crossing of the Twins.
I was wondering if this is gonna come up.
Stark's greybeards are marching south.
I was literally gonna say this last
A
episode.
direct route into the Riverlands.
It's the quickest way. That was the whole point of season 3.
I will treat with the phrase to
We
secure.
saw how great that went.
She will not like it.
Not until I'm away.
I wonder who he's gonna be forced to marry and then not do it.
Oh boy.
The hour is late, and my dragon is hungry. You have no choice. Bend the knee to me, or your house
To
burns.
you.
I would sooner be the lord of bones and cinders than bend my knee before some heathen Blackwood cunt and his hired dragon.
Dragons were a people hatched out of the deepest of the seven hells, your grace, to oblige them and send them back whence they came.
Did your brother's head keep on its way back to you, Willem? I heard the maggots got to it.
That is quite the impression, Lord Bracken, but alas, not an answer.
Words are wind, Lord Bracken. What say you?
We choose fire.
Then you'll have it.
Yeah, he's not fucking around
He knows.
here.
Yeah, he knows he's not fucking around.
I did not think they would be so eager to die.
You should have indulged them.
I need them alive.
Oh.
I came here to raise swords, not corpses.
Wait a minute. What is this character development?
They would rather burn than succumb. Exactly the kind of men I need.
If you can somehow get them on your
Possible, I
side.
think, for both of us. Then perhaps you could try less fighting and more persuading. There are things the crown itself must not be seen to do. Show them your worst.
What?
I am the servant, your grace.
What? What does persuading mean in this case? I thought he was gonna talk. I thought
he was gonna be like, give them some
thought he was gonna be
land or
like-
some shit and...
or something. Oh, the Eerie. I want to compare this to the show, the other show.
Over the centuries, many and more armies have broken themselves against my bloody gate.
My lady.
The Eyrie itself is impregnable.
She sent two. Both still wet from the egg.
I have hunting hounds that are more fearsome.
They are dragons nonetheless.
Let's see which wins.
I do not recall you specifying the size of the beast in your request.
Will you goad me, child?
You got two.
Your bread and shelter now depend on my pleasure.
You got 2 dragons, and you're.
Dragons will grow. In time.
I don't have time.
That's kind of
Just
fair,
call me
there's
to
a
our
big
free
war
drag
going on.
houses. So do I. My sympathies for the death of your grandmother.
The way they spoke at my small council.
Is that how she just found out?
Do they hold you responsible for...
parading a dragon's head through the streets like a prize of war. But the people see an ill omen.
Yes, as do I.
They are afraid. Bread is scarce. The king has fallen. They whisper to each other that when Viserys lived, there was peace. There is more than one way to fight a war.
Everyone's going sneaky mode.
Oh
Got
god,
the
he put
murder
on the
cloak.
murder cloak. Oh, no, wait. Oh, was that her? Asaria's going back to King's Landing? Oh no. Wait, what is she doing? What the fuck is she doing?
Her lying in a field, broken amongst her enemies.
Going to spread rumors?
I do not wish to stand alone.
Time to drop some more fucking acid at Harrenhal.
Damon, you are always the strong one.
Who is that?
The finest swordsman.
Who is that? Is that his...
The fearless dragon rider.
Is that his mom? I'm trying to think who else that could be.
But he lacked your constitution. Viserys was unsuited for the crown. But you, Damon, you were made to wear it. If only you'd been born first. My favorite son.
Yeah, what the fuck? This Oedipus complex?
Is the duck not to your liking, Your Grace?
The duck?
There's also goose, if you prefer it.
I like the goose myself.
Don't really feel like eating right now, actually.
I'm not hungry. I was saying, given the rather dire news from...
Seem pretty hungry, seem pretty thirsty, actually.
It appears the roof alone has needed tending since the reign of Aenys, and the storerooms and the wailing tower. The bats have made the corridors almost impassable with the quantity of their
guano.
shit. I venture there are smiths and armourers to be found near Nutton and Riverbend.
Well, send for them and levy the farmers from Antlers to High Heart. Ask their huntsmen to bring us meat and wood.
There's, of course, the matter of payment. After the tragedy that befell his father, Larys transferred his family's wealth to King's Landing.
In your coffers.
Enough to keep this small establishment, you see, fed and warm.
How did he this is a fucking bank wire transfer? What is this? It was just gold here, right? Or valuables here.
Your Grace, an emissary to the Queen, that perhaps she could provide the necessary coin, if you could only write to her.
No. I shall guarantee the payment myself.
You have thousands of gold on you in your pocket?
Very well, Your Grace.
Guys.
You should address me as my king.
But you're the prince.
What would you call the husband of the Queen?
Well, the king.
There it is then.
Consul.
That last bit seems unnecessary, don't you think?
The armor was Valyrian steel.
A king cannot ruin his sleep. The realm will have noticed his absence. Let them hear of his great deeds at Rook's Rest. But now we must name a regent to take his place, until he recovers. Or does not.
A wise strategy, Your Grace. A regency will assure the people of the stability of the crown. Did you have a candidate in mind, Your Grace?
I myself served in this role as my husband. I am well prepared to do it again.
You played your part admirably in a time of peace, Your Grace, but circumstances have changed.
And here I had forgotten.
The king does not lack
Aemond is young. And his lack of restraint has already cost us dearly.
What is anyone supposed to say to that exactly?
It is experience that offers the surest path to security. Queen Alicent ably shouldered the duties of the realm when her husband's health failed him.
Experience is valuable, yes, but the Dowager Queen is a woman.
Aemond is a fearsome dragon rider. His skill is best employed in the field, but my experience is needed here, at this table.
No offence was meant, Your Grace, but at a time when we must show strength.
Lord Laris.
I agree, Your Grace. It must be Prince Aemond. What would it say if in response to Rhaenyra's crowning we raised up a woman of our own? But the hand speaks with the king's voice, Sir Kristen. What say you?
Oh boy.
Aemond is the next in line. It must be him.
Allison, are you shocked? Are you really surprised?
Sure, he's not gonna get used to it.
What is our standing in the Riverlands?
We would do well to send word to young Targaryen. It's only a matter of time before he inherits the grandson's mantle.
Tell me, Rich, how I can trust the counsel of a man who leaves the jewel of the Riverlands to be plucked by our enemy. Your brother's host to meet Daemon, we should put him in space, and check the rivermen while their banners are in disarray.
I shall send Lord Jason encouragement.
What else?
We might turn our attention to the smallfoot here in King's Landing. They have grown weary of the sea snake's blockade.
So have we all.
Many are fleeing the city, spreading word of their fear and unrest.
Then let the gates be closed. No one is to leave or enter save with our consent. Merchants, so forth.
I don't know about that.
What are your tasks? Someone cut down the fucking rat catchers.
Just once and for all, let's stop that.
Allison's like picks the side who refuses to acknowledge a female ruler. When the is surprised when people refuse to acknowledge her as ruler.
Oh.
Hey, at least he's not gonna get kicked anymore.
Yeah, it's
surprised he's not eaten yet.
Presumed you'd be here, seeing faithfully to the Prince Regent's commands.
Aemond is the next in line. It is the order of things.
You know what he is, what he has somehow become.
Somehow is an interesting word to put in
Has
there.
your loyalty faded, or does it flourish only at night and flee the sunrise like a moth?
What I saw at Rook's Rest.
What? What did you see?
Their armor melted. There were men walking, they were on fire. We have given the war to the dragons. The dragon rider should lead us.
And what of justice? Of temperance, or is strength now to be our only god? So you cast me aside.
Have I not spared you? What we must do now is terrible. Will you preside over it? Is this who you are, Alison?
I did not ask to be spared. I did not give you leave to speak my name.
Allison, I think, needs to get a grip at this point.
Oh, God.
Now nobody's allowed to leave. Just in time.
I feel like this is just gonna make things even like 1,000 times crazier if people can't even leave. Unless he starts giving them a bunch of food and...
She's dead.
Our Lord Grover Tully has not declared for Rhaenyra.
Nor in the ruminations of Lord Tully, the oaf. Our fear lies in Vagar.
You fear a dragon leagues away when mine own sits outside your walls.
A threat. That's interesting.
Do you offer us your protection?
I do.
Is that a surprise to you?
My uncle.
And Daemon, I'm sure, has consented to this?
Surely.
We'll do as his queen commands.
It does lend us some comfort. Though it occurs to me that dragons cannot be in 2 places at once.
Or 3. What do you want?
Spit it out already.
Varys Strong has been relieved of his castle. Does the Queen intend to raise up a new lord?
Ugh. You guys really want this smoke?
You want Harrenhal?
Go right ahead once it's all over. Technically, it should be his by right, but we won't talk about that.
For that, my mother will want more than your crossing.
What does her grace desire?
Archers.
Bend knee.
Well, yeah, obviously. And then the archers. This is a pretty straightforward negotiation. Hey, I'll burn you right now. Okay. Well, will you help us? Yes. Okay. Like, that was the whole scene. I'm sure these won't get torn down instantly.
Yeah, I get burnt. Just piling up a bunch of wood in here so it can catch on fire again.
What's that fucking loud-ass barn owl again? That only I can hear.
But I'll cross you no further. I'm sure your tactics are, after all, approved by the Queen.
She cannot succeed, Alice. Even if I willed it to be so. The people who support her will not be led by her. They look to a man for strength. Who's better suited to it? The High Towers with their scheming, or Viserys' first true heir? When I take King's Landing, Rhaenyra is welcome to join me there and take her place by my side. King and Queen.
And if you lose?
Then I'll be dead. And none of this will be my problem.
It's a pity, don't you think, that you never knew your mother?
A message.
Very conveniently timed message.
Yeah.
Fresh news from
Jesus.
Stonehenge. The Blackwoods have overwhelmed the Brackens, and Lord Amos has pledged his banner to you. House Bracken is yours.
Holy shit. Well, I guess Daemon just forgot about her, you know?
I was surprised when they said you were here.
I grieve my grandmother who loved me. But I carry her on with me. I will see Rhaenyra ascend the Iron Throne, as Rhaenys wished, as Rhaenys herself should have. You yourself may do as you see fit.
Granddaughter. I would make you my heir.
What?
I am blood and fire. Driftmark must pass to salt and sea.
Reason with him. Find out his state of mind and his intentions.
Intentions?
Whether he means to raise a host for me or for himself.
Very intuitive of you.
He would not dare.
If you know Daemon to lack in daring. Go now with haste.
This dude's fully gonna go to Daemon's side 1000%.
Or just die.
Or die.
Any message for him?
Tell him I would much like to finish our last conversation.
Your Grace.
Okay. Oh, yes,
Oh, boy.
yes, 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 yes.
The River Lords have come, Your Grace. They wish an audience.
Now? What godless hour is it?
The Wolf. They are demanding to speak presently.
Oh boy. Not gonna armor up for this meeting?
Proudly carried the banner of House Targaryen. Red dragon on black.
A terrible war is being fought in these lands.
Oh God.
Have you looked after our girls?
That was not the time to be tripping out.
We should have expected nothing more from a man who ordered the slaughter of a child in his mother's arms.
That is a lie, and I will have the man who told it walk before me.
Oh, your man is half the kingdom, my prince.
Know this, interloper. The Riverlands are an ancient place, watched closely by the eyes of old gods and new. And dragon or no, we shall not raise our banners for a tyrant.
Well,
that's not a good start.
Not great.
Not a good start for King Daemon.
No.
All right, why is she here? She's just to fucking talk shit? Just here to spread the word of...
Oh, she's not even gonna be allowed in now, is she?
Move along, lass.
I have an errand for the Lady Massaria.
I thought she was dead.
Would she die without collecting her due?
Just approach a random dude just gambling.
I'm assuming she probably recognized him. Or else that would be dumb as hell.
She just gambled on a random knight's or a city watchman.
Was it worth the price?
Sounds painful. Just like...
Sad.
Lusenia. Vhagar's first rider. And the first wielder of Dark Sister.
I hope you do not mean to use her as an example.
Why shouldn't I?
Oh, it was a long time ago.
You do not give me leave to go to anything.
But who else is there? Rhaenys is dead and Baelor cannot bear the burden alone.
And when Aemond comes hunting for you, your dragon is young. Will you fly before Vhagar as Luke did?
Perhaps Daemon could...
Daemon is not here, and Aemond now rules in King's Landing.
Is Aegon dead?
Dead or alive, we have no answer for Vhagar. Aemond will not wait long to press his advantage, and then what? I have done all I can from here, sent my messages, invoked my alliance. But if all else fails, it is I who must fight. Vhagar is big, but Syrax is quicker.
So was Meleys.
Meleys fought 2 dragons and one of them is slain. Shall I fight for my birthright, or shall I wait here until we are all destroyed? I need dragons.
We have no dearth of dragons. We have 2 large enough to stand against Vhagar. They are called Vermithor and Silverwing. And they sleep just beneath our feet.
Yes, and if only they had riders, none could stand against me. I would go forth in strength and not from necessity.
There is Rhaena.
Who nearly lost her life in her last attempt. I would not risk it again.
There are those of our line who never ruled. Those who married into other noble houses. Their children born with other names.
A generation ago or more.
You never know.
And yet...
The dragon will only accept a dragon lord to write it. Also say the histories.
Valyrian histories. Written to gild us in glory.
Are you suggesting we put a Malister on a dragon? A Tarly?
It's better than Ethan feet.
There are records here, surely, of our line, and of those who fell out of it.
Lore. My favorite. Or is it just gonna end?
It could be schools.
Yeah. It's so many. If they all die in the dragon pit, doesn't matter.
Oh, really? You're not gonna pull out... Let me show us one of those scrolls, damn it. We saw a really cool, like, ancient Roman-looking fucking Visenya page. You're just gonna tease that? So what'd you think of that episode? I hate to start off super negative. I'm kind of disappointed about that episode. That felt like a very by-the-numbers episode. And not just because last episode was so crazy. Mm-hmm. It just felt like a lot of these were either painfully necessary conversations and situations, or in many ways unnecessary. On the whole, there were some things that were good, but I don't feel like I don't feel super satisfied by them.
Yeah,
I have to be 100% honest.
I feel like a lot of the first half of the season was building to basically last episode. Like, a lot of things were revealed, like the bastards were revealed, Aegon almost got killed, like, the plan with Kristen Cole and, like, having Vhagar there, like, all these things that had been building kind of in the background were revealed last episode. And then this episode, I feel like, was, you know, people collecting themselves and then, like, now building up to the next thing. Because we have Daemon being a fucking idiot, like, once again... doing something that he thinks is going to be, like, a great move, and then it just backfires and makes people against his cause, you know? Yeah. It's like, oh, well, you know, there's some things that, like, it wouldn't be, befitting to, like, have the royal seal on, and then it's like, they were parading around your banner while committing atrocities, and it's like, you know, that...
I got the idea their conversation wasn't, hey, fly our banner and do all this. I
feel like the conversation was, do this of your own accord, but then they'll come over to my side once they're under your side, you know.
But I think the Blackwoods, as, like, they're sort of a they have the proud old gods, first men blood in them, where they're like, if we can't just not fly a banner, you know, like
they're like, oh, we're pledged to them.
Yeah, it's like we're ordered by him to do this. We can't just, like, act like bandits, you know. That's I feel like there's something there where they're doing it, but they don't like it, and it's not their way, and it's like Daemon's introducing kind of a foreign brutality and, like, something that's outside of their wheelhouse, and I think that they just don't like it. So they had to fly a banner, and if they were being ordered by him, they didn't want maybe didn't want their name on it and thought he would be cool with it, since that's sort of his vibe. Or they're just straight up stupid, you know.
Yeah,
either works, but yeah.
And I mean, like, either way, I feel like people would, like, Daemon is kind of building a brand for himself at this point, and as far as, like, most people are concerned, that's pretty on like, if he tried to say, like, oh, I didn't do that, no one would ever believe him, you know. If he tried to say, oh, they thought of that on their own, everyone would be like, they literally did not, that was clearly your idea, you know.
I thought he's having character development in the opposite direction that I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to start seeing, like, not entirely, but, like, trending more towards seeing the error of his ways with the whole Rhaenyra dreams, and how she's like, you made me into what I am, and you know, this is, my innocence is lost because of you, and all the things you loved about me are gone. I took that as a, you know, I want to prove myself as a better husband, but that is not the way he's going, and I feel like I was way too optimistic with that.
Yeah.
Him cutting Rhaenyra's head off there, I think, is a lot more of a direct, you know, metaphor for what's going on, rather than a subversive killing his idea of her to, like, be with the real her. He's just he's trying to cut her out of his life, basically.
Yeah.
To kind of, just literally out of greed.
I mean, he's literally, like, he basically came to this place and then has just been having, like, he's just been tripping out, having crazy dreams, and just more and more since he's been there, like, from the first moment that he got here, and he's all like, you know, I'm a king, not a prince, basically. And then, and he kind of had that vibe from the start, but now he's getting more and more, but also people are more and more challenging that, and are like, you are literally not the king. And he's like, but what if I am, basically?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, you know, me, myself, I can't personally say that you're not. So it creates like this weird thing where he's over here bolstering up all this stuff of people that are loyal to Rhaenyra, but he's also doing stuff, you know, for him. It's a, you know,
he's trying to be Aegon the Conqueror, but he's not the biggest nor the only dragon house around here. He's now the third tier down of dragon houses.
And people wouldn't want, and that's the other thing, is not only is he repeatedly sort of sullying Rhaenyra's claim by making people not like her from a moral sense, if he decided to branch off and be like, oh, it's all about me now, people wouldn't be like, oh, he's a man and on that side, so I'm gonna go for him instead of you know, everyone back at King's Landing.
They'll say
they'd be like,
he's a treacherous kinslaying asshole.
They'd be like, he's horrible. We definitely don't want him.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, unless he fully wins, but he can't.
He can't by himself. He cannot.
He can't.
Win.
He can't 2v1 the rest of the Targaryen dynasty.
No.
You know. I don't see how this works out for him. I don't see how he thinks it's gonna work out for him. I think that he's. Like, if
he's out of it.
I think that he is just genuinely out of it. I think that he's really taken off his game with all these crazy Oedipal dreams that he's having.
Yeah.
And, like, I think that he's genuinely just getting drugged up and fucked with by Alice to making... I mean, like, here's the thing is, this is exactly what he would have done if he was king before. You know, like, the only reason that... He's just unleashed, basically. He's completely unleashed. He's like doing he's like, all right, I'll do it the way that Targaryens are supposed to do it, you know? Bend the knee, you won't? Okay, well, I guess I'll burn you. And then they're just like, literally with the Brackens, they're just like, it's like, okay, listen, I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way, as in the way Aegon the Conqueror did it. Bow to me, or die.
But then
and they're
he
like,
doesn't follow
fuck you.
through.
And then he didn't follow through because
which is
he wants...
worse.
Yes.
Because then...
That's not what the Conqueror would have done. The Conqueror would have burned them regardless.
Because he's like, oh, that's the kind of men that I want. So I'll get them through, like, trickery and being terrible. And then he just completely fumbles. If he just murdered those guys... If he's...
He's trying to have his cake and eat it, too.
Because it's like, you can say, those guys are so dedicated. I wish that they were on our side. But... since I can tell that they will never come onto our side, I should probably just eliminate them so that they're not against me. You know what I mean? It's just a big mess over here.
Huge mess.
It just keeps getting worse, and his dreams are just getting more disturbing as the days go on.
I mean, it is really interesting to watch. I'll say that. Like, Daemon's, I think his part of this episode is probably my favorite part. Like, it's really interesting to watch. It's really interesting to see. Like, you know, we've been wondering, like, the whole show up to this point, like, as far as Daemon's story was like, what if he was actually in charge? Like, he's always been one step away from being fully in charge. And now we're seeing what that would be like on a smaller scale, and it's not great. And it's not because of weakness. Like, that's the thing. It's just because... I don't even know. It's a very particular situation. Like, especially with the Blackwoods and the Brackens. But it's like... Yeah, the Aegon the Conqueror would have smoked their shit right there. Because they didn't fall in line.
Like he's too devious to be a king, or he's too... I don't even know.
That's why I'm saying, I think, like, if it were a more clean situation... I mean, I guess that's it. It's that the situation that it's a lot more complicated than he thought he would be. That's kind of what it is because, like, if it was a normal dispute between houses or whatever, if there wasn't this thousands-year-old, hundreds or possibly thousands-year-old quarrel between these two rival houses, like, that are right next to each other, it probably would have been a lot easier to maneuver. But because they're so evenly matched, they've been butting heads forever. And they're, you know, if it was switched and the Brackens were standing with him and it was the Blackwoods over there, the same thing would have happened. You know, it's just a very difficult thing. So we're seeing, it's basically what Daemon is being tested and he's failing essentially.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like he's going to take the lessons that he needs to take, which is stop, because it's not how this goes. That's not this.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out for you, my man. It's not going to work out like this.
Yeah,
But he's just It's the ambition
and I
of
think
it,
it
I
kind
guess.
of comes from him always being like the second son, and then having you know this thing like with the dream with his mom where it's like, oh, like my favorite and like best son, and it's like, but by the way that he was raised, he has like become the certain type of person that maneuvers and works in the way befitting the second son, who is like sneaking around and like in the background, like doing all of these things that the king wouldn't do because he's not the king and was not like,
well, because before he had to like, you know, he pissed off Viserys, so then he went to the Stepstones, then he brought him the crown, and then he like won back his affections for a bit, and then he fucked with him again, and then he, you know, came back right before he died, and then it was really sad. And then he fucked with Rhaenyra because he was doing some shit behind the scenes because he wasn't making the decisions, so he had to. So he's always been kind of reaching up, like he's always like he's been behind and like trying to be a people pleaser, as it were.
But people never had to like him other than like if he was trying to impress a specific person.
Yeah.
But the whole point of like if you want to rule everyone, you can't do things like that. It's like with the hanging up the rat catchers. It's like that kind of move is not befitting of a king. Stealing all the women and children is not a kingly move. That's not an honorable thing. That's not something that people are inspired by or look up to or think is a strong
And he's kind
thing,
of jumping
you
the
know?
gun, because those are the kind of optics that they need to be wary of. That's what Otto was kind of saying. Like,
Yes.
I think if Daemon's acting as if he is king, and he's basically putting forward like, I'll act like I'm king, and everyone will treat me like I'm king. But everyone's like, there are two other royal factions. Like you're not first here.
Yeah.
You haven't been first in line for like fucking 15 years or like 20 years, man. Like,
Give
I
it
don't
up
know
already.
what you're talking about, Unk. Like, get out of here. He's like, so that's what it is he's overcompensating in a way. And he's being put in situations where it's not as simple as he would like it to be or as he thinks it is. So he's just like bulldozing his way through, but then again, not following through with the Bracken thing. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
And he's
so
coming,
like,
and he is not, I think, just by the kind of person that he is, he doesn't have the same success, and also the situation that he came into, but I think just like the vibe that he brings and everything, he doesn't have the same success rate as someone like Jace, who, as we've seen multiple times, has like gone to like deal with someone.
Well,
but it's a different thing, but I guess it's just interesting that in this episode we have like Jace doing something that he wasn't told to do. Like previously he was sent to do something. He did kind of a Daemon move of like, I'm just gonna go out and do my own thing. But he did like threaten them, but he kind of read it away and kept it all above board and like very like
here's my
professional,
problem.
you know?
Here's my problem is that's what like that would be a good example, and I think you're pointing out what the show wants us to take from it. But like, my problem with the episode, as far as that is concerned, is that it was such a one-dimensional, no real bargain had, no real gained or lost. It seems like the kind of thing that would happen off screen. Like it was so like, when I say one-dimensional, it's like literally, hi, I have a dragon. Will you follow me? I guess so. Will you protect me with your dragon? Yes. Okay, deal. Like there's no like spice. There's no like it was like, I feel like that's where any like this show or Game of Thrones, like the other show, the points where I feel like the like intensity of the dialogue or the scenes or like the episodes in general go down is when characters like that feel like side characters. Like when you're talking to the Freys or whatever, and I don't need them to be like Walder Frey. Like I feel like a lot of people might be disappointed in that kind of scene or whatever because they wanted something like Walder Frey or all like the greasy Freys that we knew from the other thing. I'm okay with them being different. That's not my problem. It's just that they don't feel like they're their main character. Like when we look at Simon Strong, he seems like he's the main character of his story.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the thing that makes this universe so interesting, is that, and that what stops George from progressing his books so often, is that he treats all the side characters as if they're the main character of their own book. So he gets sidetracked and then builds things up too much. But like in that scene, it just to me, like what you were saying about Jace, like handling things well. Again, that's what the show is saying with that. That's the comparison. That's like the parallel that's being made. But it's not like, you know, he's not dealing with Brackens versus Blackwoods, this like entrenched, serious conflict that is a lose-lose situation and is a difficult thing if you're a ruler to try and navigate. And, you know, there's the easy way and the hard way, and there's you know, he's making a move there and a weird choice that's like unique to him. Daemon is like when Jace goes there, he's just sort of like, it's just so nothing. It's just so there's no like conversation really. So I don't know. Not everything is gonna be like crazy dialogue where it's just so insane, but like that's what I was kind of meaning at the beginning of the discussion with where like the Daemon stuff, cool, interesting, but so much like even seeing the Eyrie and this lady and everything, it felt so much of the dialogue this episode and like the way that scenes move, it just felt so by the numbers. That's the best way I have to put it. Is it's like, you know, people giving each other looks, like even the kind of there were some interesting like shots and everything, but it was so like so much of it felt so perfunctory. Like it was just like, this happened, so this is happening, and then this happened, so this is what follows from what happened last episode. This is what follows from that. There's no like little spice or little interesting like shift in it, you know, like and because Daemon's twist was so laid on so thick previously, it's not like it's a reveal here. It's like he was moving in that direction from the moment he stepped in Harrenhal. So it's not like Daemon's doing his own thing. That's a really big change from what we thought was going to happen. And this scene in particular felt very like overly stagey. You know, like, and I don't know how to bring this up without sounding like a complete fucking douche. So I'm just gonna say what I think. It's like I appreciate and enjoy the difficulties, like how this story in this universe highlights the difficulties of women in these circumstances. I'm not against exploring feminism in this way or in this universe or in a fantasy world. I actually think it's interesting. Like I've said previously, I think Alicent's perspective and her struggles have been by far, to me, the most interesting storyline that the show has gone through. I think that her side of things is my favorite part since Viserys died. Because there's so much inner conflict and there's so much internalized misogyny and so much going on there. So when I'm saying this, I don't mean to sound like I'm just against all of this or I'm like complaining about like woke shit or something. There's often a political or sort of like a takeaway, like an odd imperative or something that's a statement about the world in fantasy or in any other fiction. So, you know, I'm not one of those people that's gonna like go after a show for exploring something like this just because they're exploring it or just because I hate women or something. But like this scene in particular with Corlys, even the way they're talking about Rhaenys, it felt so like, to me, I don't know if I'm being just a hater. Like, I feel like I'm being a hater, but it just, and this one, this scene too, it felt like so much of the stuff surrounding that aspect of the show. Like, and whenever it was about being a woman or being like, when even in the council scene where she's like talking to all of the dudes in the war council, it feels so like, it feels really put on in a way that it doesn't always feel. Like, it feels very like, oh, and this is the part where the Rhaenyra or Alicent, the strong woman who has all the good ideas, is getting shouted down by all the men. It's like there's been scenes like that previously to illustrate that part of the theme in other episodes. I think in like the last 2 episodes or something, there's been a scene similar to that with Rhaenyra and her council and with Alicent here. But something about those scenes didn't feel, again, like perfunctory, I think is the best word. It's like they didn't feel so just following directly and just no dynamism towards that. So I don't know how else to put it with that. Like, I just hope that people understand where I'm coming from with that. There wasn't that like that dynamism, that like that juice to it, where it felt like there was something going on there. It, like it's like I don't know. I don't want to be. Like I don't want to be such a hater, because like the last 4 episodes have been so goddamn good. Episode 2 was incredible. Episode 4 was incredible. The other episode 1 and 3 were also incredible, but like this one just felt like it wasn't just the slow episode after the action thing. It was that like a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the scenes felt like season 6 Game of Thrones.
Do you
know
feel
what I'm saying?
like part of that could be like a I don't know, like a direction kind of thing, because in the previous episodes there's been like this scene leads into this scene, and like throughout the episode, and not just that it builds up to a crazy moment at the end of the episode, just that the way that things are interwoven and the conversations that are happening play off each other in such an interesting way that like tell a story and have a theme for the entire episode that like feels very like subtle,
strong,
but yet strong and obvious. Do you maybe feel that this episode was a little bit more disjointed?
Maybe.
And it's more like this conversation that needs to happen, and then this conversation that needs to happen, and this one that needs to happen, and they're all good on their own, but like kind of together, it's a little bit maybe not like super clunky, but like not as like not building that same kind of tapestry that the previous episodes kind of have.
I think that's a probably a good way of putting it. Yeah, and I hesitate to talk so much about like the direction of it, because we talk about a directing choice versus like an acting or animation choice when we talk about anime, but it's such a smaller scale thing. So to harp on, to like call out something specific like, oh, the director for this episode ate shit, or the script writer for this episode was ass, or something like, when we're talking about anime, it's really easy to be like, yeah, something about clearly the direction, there's clearly a market, and it's also just with 2D animation, there's just less variables to analyze.
Yeah.
So like it's easier to call out stuff like that, and it's easier to see stuff like that.
Or pinpoint where the potential problem.
So I can only guess why. Like, what I'm feeling is happening is, like, I could guess it's direction, I could guess it's an editing thing, maybe a different cinematography, like, storyboarding in general might have been, like, weird this time. This episode might have been just a filler episode, basically where they just kind of they had a bunch of shit they needed to put in order for the next thing to feel earned. So, like, I don't know, but all I'm saying is this whole episode pretty much had that feeling of just, like, the conversations had somewhere to go, and they got there almost instantly, and without much, of that like colorful movement and that dance that like the really good scenes in this universe do.
Yeah. What I would kind of be thinking is that because all of the stuff with Daemon was like, it was really going somewhere, and we had so much of it throughout the episode that I feel like that's like that's plot. Like what needs to be fully fleshed out and explored before we continue on. And then the other things are just, we also need to know that they're happening, but maybe they're getting a little bit more of a highlight than they would if there was other
and that's the
things
other thing
going on.
That's also why exactly, that's why I don't want to harp so much on like, oh, the production, like this and that of the production were shit. I'm not gonna harp on that so much, because maybe it's like, and because I've also not read the books, like I'm not gonna say that, because I don't know if these events were just dry like this, and this was just kind of a dry part of the story. So maybe it's just like that. But I feel like they're just in the way thing, like just I don't know what it was. Many minor little like things I think built up, and you guys can take your pick, I guess, which you think I'm talking about, like what was the cause of it.
I think all the stuff with Daemon is really interesting as well, and when we come back to the end with Rhaenyra feeling really trapped, and how she is trying to with especially with Meleys out of the picture now and having limited dragons, it's also, I feel like, so frustrating to watch Daemon kind of waste his potential a little bit. Like, he's doing all of this stuff that is kind of hurting them more than it's helping them in a lot of ways. And it's so frustrating because we see Rhaenyra over here, like, if she even had, like, if Daemon and Caraxes were fully under her control and would do what she said, imagine how she could make moves. Her whole thing, and that we keep running up against the council being like, you're not really doing anything, we're gonna, like, kind of do this other thing. And I feel like a lot of it is because she doesn't have a lot of pieces to play with.
Yeah.
And everyone is valuable to her. With Vhagar being such a huge dragon, it's like, if you lose one too many of your dragons, you can't win.
Yeah.
No matter what.
And they already lost their biggest asset that they currently have.
So then the fact that she's the second biggest, and Daemon would be really good too, but he's doing his own thing, which is...
Yeah, and she's already suspecting
that
he's betraying her.
So, and it's like, if her and Daemon were a solid team, if he was truly loyal to her, then I feel like a lot of things would be completely different, because the two of them, plus if Meleys hadn't died, there could have been something different going on. But I do like this idea of trying to get someone to ride these other dragons, because and that's honestly really smart, because if you're looking to bring people to your side and you find people that are like maybe on your side but like not maybe the most loyal people, if you give them a dragon, like that's like the craziest way to lock people in, especially when we saw already in the Vale. And they're like, we asked for dragons and you gave us 2. And then she's like, well, they gave you 2 dragons. And it's like, okay, well, they're babies. And it's like, okay, well, and if you give someone a full giant dragon that they can actually ride, like that's insane. And I do like that she's open to it, because, there's this whole thing of like, oh, we need to keep everything pure and stuff. But it's like, does that really matter? When
desperate times call for desperate measures. Yeah. I have a feeling with how much they're building up Hugh and that other fucking guy, whatever his name was. I don't think we heard his name. Did we hear his name? That other dude who was like in the bar and then Aegon walked in. He was like, oh shit.
No.
I feel like they're gonna put up those guys, because those are like supposedly Targaryen dudes who are bastards. And then there's Alan and his brother. I forget his name. Adam.
I think.
And Adam was looking at Sea Smoke, who apparently Laenor is dead. He's probably going to go to Sea Smoke if that shot means anything. Alan could go, I guess, Vermithor, maybe, if he gets a dragon. The thing also is that, like, they're talking like, what if we offer it? We can see which lords have dragon blood and then test it. There's no guarantee that the fucking dragons will like whoever you give the dragons to. That's the thing about, like, that they didn't really get into. And maybe Rhaena was thinking it when she was talking to Lady Aaron here. But like, she's just like, oh, 2 baby dragons. It's like, okay, you're lucky that you have, I'm pretty sure she must have Targaryen blood. She would be Rhaenyra's aunt, because it would be Emma's sister or cousin, maybe. I would imagine sister, because otherwise, why would she want a dragon? Because
there's no point to having a dragon if it's just a literal feral beast that will kill. Just
because she doesn't have a Targaryen look, but we know a lot of historical, like there's Baelor Breakspear and a million other. I mean, Jon Snow for one. Targaryens who don't look like a Targaryen because they have mixed blood or whatever, or some sort of other aspect to them. So, and Rhaenys obviously in the book apparently has like black hair with a streak of silver, because she's a Baratheon.
I mean, Rhaenyra's own children.
Yes, perfect. Right. So I would assume that she would only ask for a dragon if she could, if she thought she could maybe control it, or maybe her children could. But like, yeah, I don't know. Or maybe she's the wife. Maybe she's. I actually don't know her relation to Rhaenyra, but maybe she's the wife of her mom, of Rhaenyra's mom's brother, if she had a brother, or what it is. Anyway, yeah. That's the thing, is they can't promise a dragon. They can't say, hey, like, whatever, who are they, if it's not just the bastards, if they try to find other lordly houses and be like, hey, join our cause and we'll give you a dragon because we're like third cousins or something. Because Vermithor could just say, hey, fuck you, and then eat the guy, and then they have no lord. And then it's like they fuck up their line of succession. And then there's another smaller civil war that they need to go and fight with them in order to maintain order in this part of the kingdom so that they can then rally both sides after the succession is cleared and then join the blacks. Like, it could just turn into another huge fucking problem. And maybe that's what they're setting up for. Maybe that's where the story goes, is it turns into a lot of, like with Daemon,
it's just more
it's a lot of smaller
little
regional conflicts to like win favor, and that's and the story's just going to be slowing down like this for a long time, maybe for the rest of the season. Maybe that's why it's only an 8-episode season instead of a 10-episode season.
It's hard to say. It's one of those plans that I feel like is really smart at this point. It is
smart, yeah.
But it could go really badly, but you don't really have anything to lose if you don't think that you can win without at least trying it, you know. Yeah. And especially since those dragons are apparently a lot bigger.
Oh yeah, Vermithor is like almost as big as Vhagar.
Yeah, and it's like if you had that, then you would not necessarily automatically win, but you would, like, you know, Vhagar is the main thing that is tipping the scale in that favor, because they only have Vhagar and one other dragon with a rider that is like not actively going out and doing anything.
Yeah, and it's Helena. I don't think she's getting on her dragon anytime soon.
So it's like, you mainly have Vhagar. Yeah, I do like that she's researching, and I feel like I did overall like this scene of like her talking about like, and I what I really like is like the relationship that they have, and like, you know, when Jace was kind of like, seeming like he was like getting really fed up with her, like in a few episodes ago in the council when he was like looking really annoyed, you know? And then they kind of had that thing where they came together, and then he went off and did his own thing, but then came back, and then they talked about it, and she's like, you know, I'm proud of you, and I completely understand why you did that, and if I seem like I'm annoyed, it's mostly because I want to be doing that kind of thing, and I am not allowed. And the thing about her is that she knows that it's not a smart move for her to go out and be doing things, so she doesn't, but it just makes her feel more weak and more just trapped.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like I was saying, she doesn't have a lot of she has 2 like children basically to, you know, move around and do stuff with, and one of them is the heir to the throne.
And both their dragons are tiny.
And both their dragons are small, so it's like, it's just not a good situation, and previously she was, you know, not doing anything because she thought that there would be a way to peace, and now she's not really doing much because there's not a lot to do. There's not a lot of pieces to move. It's like, okay, I guess we can wait for Daemon, whatever he's doing that he hasn't said anything about. Yeah. Yeah.
Decent episode.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a bit more, but hopefully if they needed an episode to get all these like need to happen scenes out of the way, then we can get to some more craziness and
I'm still just really interested in how like Daemon's gonna like, because there's that whole thing of like, you're gonna die here, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like Daemon is now creating a bunch of enemies like within the surroundings of his new camp, you know. And they're constructing and they're building all this stuff, and it's like, you're just setting this place up to burn down again. You're like filling it with wood scaffolding. This is maybe not the greatest idea.
I mean, as long as he's the lord of Harrenhal, which means he's cursed.
Exactly.
So
which is also an interesting thing. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead. You first.
I was gonna say, because you said in the episode that technically Harrenhal should be Jace's. Is that what you said?
Oh, well, because Jace is a strong. But he's not a strong.
Yeah.
Because that's not allowed.
Interesting.
That's what it was.
That is kind of also interesting that, like, when you look at it through that kind of lens of, like, someone asked for it, and even though, like, technically it should be his, he gives
Oh, he
it
gives
away.
it away, yeah.
And therefore, like, avoids the curse. I was gonna say that earlier, but then I forgot. It's like if it should be his, and he just gives it away so that they can have a better advantage, and he's not like, oh, I want that for myself. But then Daemon is kind of like, I'm claiming Harrenhal. Harrenhal is mine. I'm basically cursing myself by coming in here and like.
Well, he didn't believe in the curses.
He doesn't believe in the curse.
Superstition. I think you're pointing out of like Jace, being the one to give Harrenhal away is really interesting. I didn't think of that. I think it's more of just a little irony thing. Like it's just a little like, oh yeah, that is funny now that I think about it. You know, I bet I think he was kind of thinking that, like, I think there was a look that he gave as well there. Yeah, now that you mentioned
it. He's like, oh, you want Harrenhal?
Sure. Fine. Because he knows, obviously, that he's a strong. But yeah, so I think that's more what it is. I don't think that it's anything like he has the right to it or something. It was Larys. You have to be like the lord of it, and then you're fucked, basically. But he could technically still be cursed, because we don't know how Jace ends up at the end of all this. Fucking Luke is already dead. And, you know, so they could be carrying that curse as well. So, but Daemon is definitely carrying that curse. And the Freys should count themselves lucky that they apparently don't carry that curse. Or maybe they do. And it just
maybe that's why they're so greasy and disgusting.
It's just a bit protracted, and it takes, and they cash that in about 200 years later. Yeah, I don't know. They'll have their own curse to deal with at a certain point in time, but I really do hope that the next episodes are better. I think they will be.
I think so.
I think this might be. Like what it is it has a similar feeling, but just because it was a more in between style episode, it has a more of a feeling of like episode 9 of the first season, like with all the stuff them trying to find Aegon and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it has that kind of vibe to it, but it's just a slower pace, so it sticks out a lot more here. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is a new standard for the show. So I'm excited to see what happens next week, I guess.
I agree.
Leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time, Carson.
I'm Lizzie.
Bye-bye.